and today we are going to the lab to look at samples for the next palette. I am so excited. So, okay, I didn't want to do a whole series and I don't know. I was like, listen, I'm just going to document this journey on my phone, but I just want to show you guys the process, but also just for myself. Like I like looking back on stuff like this, so.
What's crack, is VangelinaSkov, and as promised, today we're going to be talking about episode 1 of Shane Dawson's new series, which we now know is titled The Cancelled World of Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson. Although, as we're told at the start of this video, this wasn't actually supposed to be about cancellation or Jeffree Star at all. It was actually just supposed to be about Shane. He said he was just gonna go about his day and have people ask him questions, and he was gonna call it The Mind of Shane Dawson, and that was gonna be it. But as such, and as we know, it didn't turn out that way at all. So no, it's not a series about Shane, it's going to be about Jeffree Star and the stuff that they were working on after the first palette that Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star made. If you don't know about that palette, I do not know how you stumbled on this video, but you know, I'm happy to have you here. Let me explain to you. Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson did a series together during which Shane Dawson made a palette which was called the Conspiracy Palette, an eyeshadow palette by the way, not just like some random palette. It was marketed as a series about the beauty world, but people said that it seemed more like an advertisement for Shane's palette, and honestly, this one also seems like an advertisement. This new series with Shane seems like it's an advertisement for a palette. However, Shane is saying there is no palette. Let me explain what I mean. To explain, I need to talk you through what this hour-long episode 1 of this series actually is. So at the very beginning of the video, we are taken to February 7th, 2020 in a little time machine, back while we were all a little bit more innocent and didn't know what was going to happen. And oh god, so many things happened. So many things happened, but we're taken back to 2020 in February. And in it, Shane is going to the lab, Jeffree Star's lab, to see samples for the new palette that they're working on. This is not the Conspiracy palette, this is a second eyeshadow palette. And I just want to give like a quick context of the timeline here in case you're confused, because the whole 2 years of 2020, 2021 is just a mess in everybody's heads. So Shane was not cancelled, like hugely, horribly cancelled, until the summer of 2020. And the series with Jeffree Star, which was about the beauty world, and the Conspiracy palette started coming out in October of 2019 and finished in November of 2019. So him going to the lab to see the samples of the second palette is after the first series, but before the massive cancellation, just so we're all on the same page. But we thankfully do not stay in 2020 for very long, because pretty quickly after that we flash forward to the future, 2.5 years later. But then also a couple of seconds later, 12 hours earlier. There's a lot of jumping back and forth in this video, like between February and then the present day, and honestly, for a while it was really confusing, because you would just suddenly be on a new thing and there was nothing to tell you, like this is a new day, a new time, we're in the past, no, now we're in the present. So it confused me a bit. I kind of got into the swing of it near the end. Maybe I'm just stupid though. Like honestly, maybe I'm just dumb. I don't know. Now for the rest of the video, I think we can kind of divide it into 3 main parts. So firstly, obviously, we have the past, where Shane is looking at the samples of this palette. Then secondly, we have a day in the life of Shane Dawson, for some reason. And third, we have kind of also present day, people asking him questions about controversies and also bringing up Jeffree Star and things.
Okay, so I just want to show you like a realistic day in my life. Like I feel like that could be not interesting, and definitely not as good as a series I would do on somebody like, I don't know.
Like Jeffree? How is it? Are you still friends with Jeffree?
Get out.
What?
Who do you think I am?
What?
You think I'm not loyal?
I'm just asking.
I know, I love Jeffree. Oh my god, hi. Is that what you asked that?
And I'm adding a 4th honorary part because it was the best part of the whole hour-long video, was that he showed his dogs a lot and they were cute, and there was one really sweet bit where they ate puppuccinos and I just love them. They're very sweet and they made the whole thing worthwhile. The day in the life of Shane Dawson part I'm not going to discuss really, because there's nothing to say. I'm sorry for that scatting, whatever that was. There's nothing to say, and I honestly didn't really like it. Like, I do watch day in the life stuff and I watch vlogs and I really enjoy them. However, for this video, it's titled Cancelled Jeffree Star Shane Dawson, right? And at the very beginning of the video, he's talking about an eyeshadow palette. So that's what I'm here for. That's what you bought me with the title and with that introduction clip. That's what I came to see. So I don't want to see the rest of it, because now, like, the day in the life stuff just feels like filler. Like, it's just them going to the vet, he rips his pants, he talks about nothing, and do some stuff, and the Puppuccino bit was fine. I'd be fine with seeing it if that's what I signed up for, but I didn't. So I didn't enjoy it. It just felt like filler. The rest of the present day stuff is him talking about what this series or what this video is actually going to be. Like I said, he said it was just going to be about him, people asking him questions, but he also talked about doing a series with somebody else because he'd been wanting to do that, and he had asked on Instagram who he should work with. People gave suggestions, and he actually messaged one person, and that may happen. So he hasn't named them. But this whole conversation about like the texting of this person who he may do a series with, who he doesn't name, goes on for so long, and he still doesn't name. So I'm just like, what was the point? I don't know. Maybe I'm being overly critical. I just like, what was the point of that? And he also talks about Jeffree at the beginning. It kind of comes up that he thought about going to Wyoming to the ranch to see the yaks, and that was it. And he says, you know, that's not what he's doing.
No, so of course I'm still friends with Jeffree. So I actually thought about that. I was like, should I just go to Casper, Wyoming, and go to the yak farm and do a series with Jeffree with his yaks?
Okay, so this is how I start my mornings.
And I'm like, that would be confusing because like, like how would the camera know what to focus on? Because like, is it a yak? Is it me? It's like very confusing. Oof.
We know now already that is what he's doing, but at the beginning he says that's not what he's doing. And then he also said, because this is a series about him, he's gonna have like Ryland and Chris and Ryland's family ask him some questions, try and make him cry like it's Oprah or something, and also says that he needs to have like some big reveal, some secret to reveal in the video, because every series needs a reveal of some kind. And he's thinking about it, and he's like, I have it, a brainstorm. But like at this point, we already know that it's going to be the palette, because he's already shown a clip of him going to the lab to see samples of the palette. So like the big, oh my gosh, I know what it is, doesn't really make sense in the context, but I guess, you know, it was all filmed 2 years apart. So I will cut him some slack, I guess. So he does get asked questions. One of them was from Ryland of did you love me less when you were cancelled, or something along those lines. I didn't really memorize that, and I actually didn't write that down as a note because I didn't find it particularly important to mention, but now I'm thinking I should mention it. And Shane just says that he loves him more every day. Great, cool, you're in love, yay. Other things is he just has said to him, it's posed as a question, but there's no actual question, just like, when you were cancelled, you were in a really dark place, and now you seem really happy. And the other kind of bigger question that comes up is from Ryland's mum.
So during the Jeffree series,
Okay.
do you want to talk about that?
What about it?
Okay, so I always feel like people acted like you did this big money grab, and you won't address it, plus you haven't talked about it with us.
No.
And I don't feel like it was a money grab, but you never address it.
And she chooses to ask him about the series with Jeffree Star when they did the conspiracy palette. And what she asks him is like, essentially, why didn't he address people saying that it's a money grab? Because she knows it's not a money grab, like it was just something he was excited and inspired by and just really wanted to get into that world. And they'd spend loads of hours doing makeup together and things like that. And Shane just says he didn't want to address it because it makes him sad that people think that. And also that he put too much emphasis on the money aspect of things in the series just because it was interesting to him. But interestingly enough, he does actually go a little bit more in depth into how much money he made from that palette.
Which I think that's another thing, people thought I made like $10 or $20 million on it. I did not. And financial stuff aside, like being very honest, the first palette did very well, but the cost of goods is crazy. So like, yes, the palette made like 30 million whatever dollars, but then the cost of goods was literally $20 million. So it's like, okay, take that away. And then after that,
Okay.
you know, it was all the people involved in the company. Then after that, like my cut, my 25% or whatever it was after so many cuts. And then after that, and then I gave my coworker at the time 25% of what I made from it. So after all was said and done with taxes and everything, yeah, it was a great amount of money that I'm so blessed and proud of and so grateful for, because it helped with getting this house in Colorado and, you know, But like, was it like I can retire now money? No.
$30 million. $30 million. So much money. Anyway, I do think it's interesting that he went into that bit. I didn't expect him to. I kind of kept expecting him to like be like, I made this much money, but he didn't, because people don't do that, so why would he do that? That was kind of it for the questions. So his plan of people asking him questions and making him cry didn't really work out. That's fine. What does end up happening is he wants to do the reveal of the palette, essentially, but has to ask Jeffree if he's allowed to legally. Shane talks about the palette itself and that they started working on that after the conspiracy palette because they just had so many more ideas and improvements and things like that that they could have made in the original palette. So they were going to make a second one. But what happened was everything that happened. Apparently, like, the palette was finished. Like, all the samples were ready. He had the palette, not the packaging, but the actual inside of the palette and the colors and everything and all the names. Actually, no, he said he didn't have all the names, but a lot of the names. So it was ready to go, but then everything happened with the cancellations and stuff. And also then, you know, as the Game Grumps would say, the Backstreet Boys tour and reunion tour, the Panasonic, that happened. So because of that, and also because of the stuff with the cancellation, Shane said it was too risky, that they shouldn't do it, and told Jeffree he could just like use the shades himself, and that was it. So saying essentially the palette was never going to come out, and is still saying that the palette is not going to come out, but then proceeds to like get it ready to show us, texts Jeffree to say, is this okay, like legally can I show this, because like legal things are weird. And it becomes a conversation between him and Jeffree through text, and then there's also a voice message.
Let me answer your question. Of course you can. Whether I see you one day in 10 years, just so you know, I'm fucking down for anything. So, I think it would be really cool.
Oh my god.
The irony of it all, the name of it, everything is just nuts, honestly. Like, it wasn't just a name. There's so many double entendres, and it's so crazy looking back. So, would love it. Now, are you in LA? Are you in Colorado? I think it would be more impactful if we're sitting face to face, just like, hi, and just fucking talking about everything. Or whatever you want to talk about. I could ask you questions about anything you want, or vice versa, so let me know what you think.
That is better.
We're left off at the very end of the video with Shane teasing about to open the palette and show the shades, which is a little bit... It seems redundant to me at this point to try and like tease that, because like I said, it goes back to February a lot, and the only thing that's shown in February is them showing the shades individually. Like, obviously not all of them, but most of them, I think, showing all the shades and being like, oh, look at this swatch, this is beautiful, we're calling this one Scorpio, this one is Cancer, because apparently Shane is a Cancer and Jeffree's a Scorpio, and I didn't know this, but I'm a Cancer with a Scorpio moon, so that feels like in my brain that like one part of me is Shane Dawson, one part is Jeffree Star, so that disturbs me greatly. I've gone off on a tangent. Let's get back on track. So yeah, it seemed like redundant to be like, ooh, I'm going to show you the palette, when all of the clips going back to February were just of them showing the colours. But obviously there's more colours to see, and Shane and Jeffree seem to think that the order that they're placed in is like a huge deal. Maybe that is. I don't have a makeup palette, so like, I don't know, but it seems like they're making it a bigger deal than it is. And the other bit that's teased to us is we're shown a clip of Ryland and Shane getting on a plane to go to Wyoming to see Jeffree. So we now know what the rest of the series is going to be, and we had a lot of filler included. So here's the thing, and here's why it seems like an advertisement still, because although Shane is saying that this palette is not going to happen, here's what I think is going to happen. They're gonna do the series, right? They're gonna do this 3-part series, and then it's suddenly going to become a longer series, because Shane and Jeffree are gonna get loads of people saying, oh my god, I love this palette, I wish this palette was for sale, blah 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 blah, right? And then Shane and Jeffree, or just Shane, are gonna go, oh my god, people love the palette so much, we have to release it. Like, we really were not planning to release this palette, but now we are going to release it because you guys want it so much. Like, we weren't going to, but now we are. So it is just like build up for a palette in a different way. And I mean, brilliant marketing move. I do believe, you know, like back in 2020, all the cancellation happened. They did at least shelve it. Like they're like, okay, cancellation. Maybe Shane even did say, as he said, like he might quit the internet forever. So there's no point doing a palette. Maybe that did happen. Or maybe they just said like, let's hold off till this dies down. And then it did not die down. But I do think like, with this showing it, even if like he didn't wake up that day and say, I'm gonna record and I'm gonna show this palette and then we're gonna sell it, even if that's not what he woke up that day thinking, the cog's returning as soon as he was like, oh, the palette. But also I find it like a little bit suspicious that like that's the day they're filming, and he says in the video he's had the palette for months because he's shown it to Chris months ago. So if he had the palette for months, why is today the day that he chose to start filming it? Like, why is today the day he's like, I'm gonna reveal this and we're gonna talk about it with Jeffree, but the palette's not coming out, guys. But we're gonna show you all the colors. And if they show all the colors, Jeffree can't then keep the shades for another palette because everybody's seen them. That's just how this works with Jeffree Star from what I understand from him. So he can't use those shades for something else. And they were already like, they went through the whole process of it. So of course, the only logical thing is to still release the palette once everybody says, oh, I like that, I would like that palette, and go, oh my god, we weren't gonna, but now we're gonna. So it's brilliant advertising. It really is. Good job, I guess. And Shane does say, like, he acknowledges this seems really fake, but it's not, guys. I'm not saying it's like 100% calculated, but it's at least 80% calculated. And they 100% are going to release this palette. Like, there's no question in my mind. Before I finish off, I had some extra moments that I couldn't fit into my categorizing of things, and also that didn't seem fully relevant to the topic of the video itself. For one, just like Rylan seems really done with Shane all the time. I don't know if it's just like he's just, you know, doing it kind of playfully, or if it's just like that's his character and I just haven't noticed it before, but he just seems so over it like the whole time. It was kind of funny to me, honestly. The other bit that I noticed is they were in the car at one point when they were going to the vet and they were discussing the surrogate and the baby that they're gonna have. They said that they may actually have their baby as soon as July of next year, which that's very soon. But what concerned me and what stood out is that they couldn't agree on if they could show the baby online or not, because Shane was saying like, we won't show the baby, but like it's weird because Rylan's been making videos about the process of us like getting a surrogate and stuff, but we're never going to show the baby.
Yeah, so on Rylan's channel we've been documenting the journey, which is going to be weird because we don't want to ever show our kid. So it's kind of like if we did the whole Jeffree conspiracy series and then if I just like never showed the palette. But whatever.
I mean, we can't never show our child. The child just isn't going to be the focal point of the videos.
No, we can't show our child.
So I feel like maybe there's been a miscommunication here and they need to work that one out. But on this, I'm on Shane's side actually. Just don't show your baby. Just don't do it. I've talked about this before anyway, so I'm not gonna rant. But yeah, did you guys watch the first episode? What did you think about it? Do you think that the palette is gonna come out? I think we all pretty much think the palette is gonna come out. It wouldn't make any sense for it not to. But yeah, just let me know your thoughts in general. Also, beyond that, please, I forgot to say it at the start of the video, but please do subscribe. It really helps me out a lot, especially if you've made it this far. Just subscribe. You can unsubscribe at any time. It's not like something you have to be stuck with forever. So I just really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And while you're down there, you can also turn on notifications to make sure that you know when I upload a new video, because sometimes YouTube doesn't show you that. Also, you know, like, comment, share, follow me on social media. I am VangelinaSkov everywhere, and have a wonderful day. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!